English, thanks for your time. Well, welcome back to Adelaide.
Thank you.
You came to Australia with your parents about the age of 12, and in terms of the transition in your life at that time, first, what do you remember of your upbringing in London?
In retrospect, we lived in a bus for a while. I remember powdered eggs and powdered milk because it was, well, I was born in 49. We were still suffering, well, massive shortage of houses, particularly in the south of England, because of all the bombs and stuff. And so things like that, which I took for granted at the time, and everyone says, oh, you lived in a bus, you lived in a shed. So everybody did, you know, unless you were very lucky. I remember going to a beach at Hastings for my holidays, and a big sign saying, if you see anything metal, do not dig it up because there's still landmines buried there. But generally, I remember being cold and wet a lot, you know, and looking forward to sun. And when they said we're going to Australia, of course all the information was all about quirky Australian things, so I thought I'd be going to school by horse, or going to school on the radio, and there'd be kangaroos hopping down George Street, the usual stuff.
Yeah.
You think, but I just remember it was a fantastic adventure, really.
And then, now Cabramatta, where you then came to, was a fairly tough suburb nowadays. What was it like being a teenager there in the 1960s? Not
much difference, not a lot to do. It was a big breadbasket in those days. That whole western suburbs of Sydney, lots and lots of market gardens and things, which they, of course, have now put up multi-storey housing, which I think is a terrible mistake, to be honest. Because it really was a very fertile alluvial plain, if you like. But yeah, Cabramatta is one of those suburbs that doesn't have a beach. It doesn't have, you know, recreational facilities for kids or anything like that. So if you didn't play organised sport, which I did for a while, and then of course fell in love with the guitar, so I had a passion. It's quite easy to get into trouble and do silly things. So fortunately, I dodged that bullet and went straight from organised sport to falling in love with the guitar.
I was going to ask that next. When did you realise you had both music and theatre were your passions?
Probably mum and dad. Dad was a very, very proficient piano player. He was a lugger, he was taught by ear. But he could play just about any instrument he picked up in the space of about a week. Certainly make a noise out, but he was a very good piano player. And when I started to listen carefully to the stuff he liked, the old jazz standards and all that stuff. But his one problem with the guitar was he's left-handed, and so am I actually, but he used to play it upside down. I know a few people like that I've met now that say you couldn't quite figure out what he was doing. But he showed me enough chords to sort of to work out a structure. And then the Beatles hit, and that was kind of, that was it. I decided I wanted to be a Beatle.
Right.
Got serious about it.
Now, in the mid-1970s, you had two top 20 hits of Turn the Page and Hollywood 7.
Yeah.
While most songs that only get that far up the charts have mostly disappeared, those two songs remain, at least of Australia's most recognisable tunes of those times. Do you have a theory about why they have endured in the public's memory?
I think they're just a bit more than catchy pop songs. I think there's actually a story to them and a certain sort of a moodiness, or there's a colour to them. Am I doing any good here? I've always loved songs with stories or characters and things in them, and I think they've stood the test of time pretty well too. Well, having said that, inflation has ruined the chances of anyone getting a hotel for $7 a night. It dates it straight away. 7T maybe.
Your most well-known and perhaps successful TV role was starring in Against the Wind, but as successful as that was in Australia, it was in Scandinavia and particularly Norway that they went particularly silly over it, did they not?
Yeah.
That must have come as a bit of a shock when someone rang you up and said it's gone #1 in Norway.
I think it shocked everybody involved in the whole thing. I think nobody really realised that it was people overseas. South Africa too, for example, just loved it. Germany, they were quite fascinated by Australian history in that way. And I don't know, it just struck a chord with a lot of people. I remember landing in Frankfurt and someone trying to speak German to me because they saw me speaking German last night. You know, ich spreche keine Deutsch, so terribly disappointing. But I saw last night you speak. No, it wasn't me.
Did they have was their reaction to the series different to the Australian reaction, or towards you and your music?
There was a funny reaction. Germany in particular and Sweden. There's a weird sort of divide between the arts. If you're going to be an actor and you're going to be a singer, you're not really accepted by the other side, who will begrudgingly say, "Oh, I suppose you do all right considering you're a rock and roll singer." Now in Germany and Sweden, they thought I was David Hasselhoff. They thought I was a guy from a TV show that decided he was going to make a record and cash in on the TV show. And so all the sort of, the bona fide underground rock and roll press were all a bit, another one. Until I pointed out, and one of them actually said, do you know the other Jon English? I said, "Who's that?" "The one that had Hollywood 7 and this, that and the other." "And who was the man that sung Six Ribbons from the TV?" I said, "It's me, I'm the same guy." "Oh, so this is not your first concert?" "Oh, Christ, no." It wasn't the days of the internet where you could get hold of, "Oh, he was in that, no, he did that." So I had a slight battle at first, because it's funny, people have this penchant for snobbery. Even the sort of left-wing underground rock and roll press were terribly dismissive of anything that's not in there, and I fell through the cracks for quite a while there. You're not a bad singer for an actor, or you're not a bad actor for a singer, but you're not very good at either of them, are you? So still get it sometimes, actually.
Yeah. Now, your current gig, The Rock Show, is a trip down memory lane of rock songs in the 60s and 70s. Tell us a little bit more about the show.
Well, okay, so some time ago I wrote a show called Paris, which had been quite a few amateur dramatic versions on through Australia, and there was a version done in Gosford, and I was particularly, Gosford, Central Coast, New South Wales, particularly taken by it. It was very imaginative and very well done, and the cast and the band were particularly good. And I got to know the director quite well. And he called me maybe 6-8 months after the event and said, "I've been commissioned to do this show, and I want to do a rock show. I want to do music concentrating on 1965 to 1980. Got a bunch of mates that all play instruments, and they're keen to do it. Do you want to come on board? Because you were the only guy I know that was actually there at the time." Because the average age of these guys is about 23.
Yeah.
So I was very pleasantly surprised when I went down to find out that I knew most of the people in the band from the show. And those that were playing in it were actually in the cast, a lot of them. I didn't realise they played instruments as well. And that was when I started to dip my toe into the waters of the untapped potential of the youth out there today. Anyway, cut a long story short, we put this show together with people we all thought had influence in that period. We suffered the sin of omission, which we're always going to do, because it's such a broad structure over there. And it went over a storm. And that was going to be it until my partner, Coralie, said, "This is a bit too good to just put down. If we put a bit of work in and, structured the dialogue a bit better and made it a bit more theatrical and did this, that, and the other, and cleaned it up as you do, we should take this on the road." So kicking and screaming, I was dragged into the role of co-producer, which I swore I'd never do. And rest is history. It's very energetic. It's performed exceptionally well. They're all such fine musicians, and they're multi-instrumentalists. They all play about 5 instruments. But it's done, I think, with the energy and the aggression, and that the original stuff was done by people about the same age as they were then. And that's what I think the audience really click on.
Well, I was going to ask about the audience. We had Glenn Shorrock and Leo Say here for the Cabaret Festival.
Right.
And Glenn Shorrock's audience in particular, it was pretty much senior citizens watching Glenn nowadays. How does this show work out with the audience that it attracts?
Well, when you look at the set list and the way it's sold even, it looks like Baby Boomer Heaven, doesn't it? Of which I am. But they tend to come along and they bring their kids, or in some cases their grandkids, that have an affiliation towards music. Maybe they're learning an instrument, maybe they want to play something, to say, well, this is kind of what it was like. And then their kids go home and bring their friends along, because the band is so young.
Yeah, I was going to say,
They-
and
they-
the ensemble and cast is makes a big difference as well.
Exactly. They go,
Yeah.
geez, they're my age, you know.
Yeah,
Little Joker Love, it's not little anyway. He's just 19. When he started in the band, he was 17. He was still at school.
yeah,
But he's as good as anybody I know on flute, guitar, bass, singing and stuff like that. And it's just really because they're dedicated. You know, they dedicate a lot of time and effort to it. And they fell in love with their instrument. And I think that's what people wanting to learn an instrument have got to do. They have to discover this passion they have for it, sleep with it, you know, read everything there is to know about it. As only sort of teenagers can do.
Yeah.
Get so passionate about something.
yeah. Well, John, I hope the show goes well once Adelaide. Got 2 shows, one on Her Majesty's and one up in the Barossa.
In the Barossa, yeah.
In January, and thanks very much for your time today.
My pleasure. Come and see it. I guarantee you'll have a ball.